Today, we are talking about how to minimize toxins in your home and in your body. And then once we have toxic overload, how do we detox? I have special guest coming on, Dr. Shiva Lalezar, who's a board certified functional medicine doctor and detox specialist. So she's going to be coming on and joining the show. The first half of the show, everybody, is going to be about, there's Dr. Shiva Lalezar. So I'm going to see if I can grab her to come on right now. This works. There might be a little bit of a glitch, but cross our fingers. The first half of the show, or the first little bit of the show, I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as possible. It has to do with prevention. Oh, do I have? Yes. Hello, Dr. Shiva. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you, Darnell?
I'm doing great. For those of you who are here every Saturday, I want to introduce you to a kick-ass doctor that you are going to want to follow. This is Dr. Shiva Lalezar. She is a board-certified functional medicine doctor. She has a practice in Beverly Hills, but she is specializing, or we're going to talk about today, about detoxing. Because, my God, we are living in an ever-growing toxic world. And so I was telling everybody what I wanted to do in the first part of this show, Dr. Shiva, is I want to talk about how to protect ourselves. Because prevention is half the battle, right? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of, that saying. So I want to talk about just 10 different ways that we can protect our home and our body from toxicity, from toxic overload. And then in the second part of this, of course, I want you to jump in and join in wherever you can. In the second part of this, everybody, Dr. Shiva is going to show us and talk to us about detoxification pathways and how the heck do we detox after we have all this toxic load. So if you know anybody who is struggling with this, who's got heavy metal detox, brain fog, a lot of stuff, send this live to them because we've got a very information-packed show for everybody. So I want to start with 10 steps to keep yourself and your home safe. And Dr. Shiva was sent my outline here and she approved everything. She's like, yes, 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 yes. So first of all, let's just talk about pesticides and herbicides because they wreak havoc on our health. Am I right? Like everything from cancer to cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's. My mom has never had Alzheimer's run in her family, but she has been a farm girl and lives in the middle of 20 acres of grapevines. I grew up on a farm. My mother now has Alzheimer's. And so we don't know about the correlation of the connection, but her crops are definitely sprayed with Roundup.
Right. What I want the audience to know is that toxins love to go and sit in fat cells, and our brain is made of fat. So the best sponge for these mycotoxins, heavy metals, pesticides, and chemicals is our brain cells. And what happens is when they sit in the fat cells, the neurotransmitters can't communicate and our thinking pattern gets affected, our memory gets affected. And over time, these actually act as neurotoxins and we develop Alzheimer and dementia because of the
Wow.
toxicity.
Wow. Okay. So, well, that's interesting to know. So if we're not eating organic, we run the risk of those pesticides and herbicides landing in our brain that can cause dementia and Alzheimer's.
That's correct.
So there is, you guys, so the easiest way is just to eat organic. But if for some people that's difficult to do. Organic is usually higher priced. In some locations, it's difficult to find. So I would suggest shopping at farmers market. Your local farmers market is a great place to shop. But also if you go to ewg.org, which is the Environmental Working Group, they have a Clean 15, which are 15 fruits and vegetables that you can buy commercially farmed without having any sort of toxic overload. And the reason is because the toxicity, those toxins are not taken up by the flesh of the fruit. So it's not enough to peel it or wash it. Some plants take that up through the root system and it's in the flesh. And so ewg.org, you can get a list of the Clean 15, those fruits and vegetables you can get commercially farmed and they're fine, or the Dirty Dozen, which are blueberries are on the top of the list.
Correct.
grapes on the top of the list.
Hmm.
So think about how many times we give grapes to little kids. And if they aren't organic, we're giving them a hefty dose of pesticides and herbicides that wreak havoc on all kinds of stuff.
Correct. Any fruits or vegetables that don't have a hard shell will absorb all those toxins and pesticides, and we're going to be ingesting them. So,
Yeah.
avocados, for instance, is not as important to get organic, although I still try to get organic avocados because it has that hard shell. Or bananas have a hard skin, so we're not necessarily getting exposed to pesticides. But when you also buy organic food, you're also getting a better nutrition from
Mhm.
that organic food. So not only you're avoiding the pesticides and the chemicals, you're also getting the proper nutrition in that organic
You're
food.
getting more nutrient dense, and that's
Exactly.
because it's hard. It's like a little bit of a hardship for fruits and vegetables to grow without being attacked by, they're fending off the insects, and they're fending off the animals, and they're doing so. It actually creates a more nutrient dense food. It's quite
Mhm.
easy for a food to grow if it's been sprayed to avoid all of those pesticides. That vegetable or that fruit has a little bit easier life. So just being an organic produce, it's already more nutrient dense. So very, very interesting. Okay. So eliminate pesticides and herbicides. Don't bring them in your house in the first place. Like I said, go to ewg.org, and they have a list of, you know, fruits and vegetables that are safe to buy. Avocados are one of those, like you said, that are safe to buy commercially farmed, meaning non-organic. But I don't want to even bring them in the house with them sprayed, so
Exactly.
everything I can get that's organic, I try to get. The number two, invest in a tap water filter system instead of buying bottled waters. I mean, I made this switch. We had the big container that would come, the big plastic arrowhead or whatever that would come every week. And we just recently made this switch by going to Purigain water system. It's within the city of LA, but you can change out, if you just did the math in terms of how much does it cost to get bottles of water delivered to your house, even if you're doing the big ones. You can now have somebody come to the house and they can finance a 10-year plan for you. We literally did a swap of the big plastic water bottles to now we can drink out of our shower for not one penny more than what we were paying from the bottled water.
That's correct. It's less expensive to actually have a water filter system. I personally have reverse osmosis both in my office and at home. So for those viewers who actually have reverse osmosis, make sure you add trace minerals to your water because reverse osmosis also pulls minerals out of it,
It
as
pulls
well as
minerals.
all the chemicals and heavy metals.
Yeah, it's interesting. The one that we have at the house is reverse osmosis, and then it puts the minerals back in.
Fantastic. That's even
So,
better.
yeah, another one we have, number three, is stop wearing your shoes inside.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a
That's
big one.
And nobody thinks about it. You walk outside, even walking around, and you visit somebody in the hospital or just grocery store or whatever, and you bring all of that stuff inside the house. So we have indoor shoes and outdoor shoes.
And our pets are walking outside and then coming in, bringing
That's
all the germs in, right?
that's true. So maybe we should start doing a little wipe of their little
Wipe,
paws.
yeah, wipe, exactly. Wipe their feet before they come in.
Yeah, this is one that I'm not that I drop the ball on a lot, which is changing the furnace and air filters every 3 months. I
Yes,
mean, it's so important. And also the air purifiers. I have air purifiers in the major rooms of the house and I constantly forget to change those air filters, but that can help really eliminate a lot of the toxins in the house.
absolutely. And it's so important to put the date in your calendar, because a lot of times we write the date on the filter itself and then we forget about it. So
Yeah.
put it on an alarm and make sure that it's changed every 3 months. It's very important, because all these microspores and dust and chemicals get trapped in these filters and we forget about it, and we're not changing it on time.
I know. I know that I'm not changing mine on time. I wait for my filter, I wait for my air purifier to tell me it turns red and I'm like,
Right.
"Oh, I'm past that time." But it would be better if I changed it earlier. So I'm going to start setting an alarm. We talked about this yesterday. Dr. Shiva and I got in a phone call yesterday talking about earth-friendly household products, because even like our laundry soap. Oh, I was going to grab that laundry soap. The laundry soap that we're using these days in the pods literally can, in hot water, disintegrate, and these microplastics get into our clothing that we're then wearing, and
Mm-hmm.
can get into our skin through many scrapes or cuts or anything like that. So all of these tips that I'm going to be giving you guys, and we're going to get into Dr. Shiva detoxing us. It's coming up, you guys. We're at 12:11, so give me about 5 or 10 more minutes, and we're going to have Dr. Shiva take over and really talk about the detoxification of what do we do once we have all of these. But prevention is important, so I want to talk about this a little bit more. You can make your own cleaning supplies. I used to do this. I did this a lot, and now I buy the ones that are pre-made, that are earth friendly. But just by mixing vinegar and water in a
Mm-hmm.
50-50 solution, you'd be shocked at how much that cleans. Or baking soda with a little bit of water to scrub out pots and pans. Anytime that we can decrease the chemicals that we're using to clean, the better. But we were talking about dishwashers, right? Like, what do you do with your dishwashing pods, because aren't those going all over the dishwasher? I did a little deep dive, and I know Dr. Shiva went as well and got a cleaner type of dishwashing soap. But the one that I did a little bit of a deep dive, and what they said was, yes, the plastic on those dishwashing pods disintegrates.
Yeah.
It does turn into a liquid, but it doesn't mean that it's not then going to cause us problems. It will generally wash off of the dishes, but it's washing down into your pipes and into the nearest treatment plant. And there are microplastics in those dishwashing pods.
You know, this weekend, I'm probably going to try that vinegar and baking soda solution. I mean, let's just try it. What is there to hurt,
What is
right?
there?
Let's just put that in the dishwasher and see if it's going to clean the dishes.
See,
Because that has been on my mind for many years. I'm like, I don't like the fact that we are using these pods. It's full of chemicals. I mean, I did find some clean ones actually at Trader Joe's, which I was shocked about. I've
yeah,
never seen that before, those pods that are a little bit more clear, dye-free,
yeah.
but still it's in a plastic pod, right? So I think we
It's in
should
a
try the
plastic box.
vinegar and baking soda and see what happens.
I well, we'll
Keep
do
each
a
other
little bit.
updated on the next live.
Okay, we'll see if your dishes actually came out clean. But it's true. It's like, even though that plastic washes off your dishes, you're probably not getting a lot of microplastic on the actual dishes, but it's going into our water system.
That's right.
So it's unavoidable how much toxins and plastics we actually get. But when we can make that difference, we should make that difference. Number 5, I have dust your house regularly. And the reason is because dust has cells and fibers and pollen and bacteria and a variety of toxins that are brought in from outside. So having a dusty house is actually having toxins and mycotoxins in that dust. I
Mhm.
didn't think about that. So vacuuming regularly, dusting regularly, replacing carpet with wood if possible, all that stuff is important. Let's talk about lead.
Yeah.
Because if your home was built before, this is number 6, check for lead. If your home was built before 1978, the year that paint was banned, it probably has lead in there.
Lead paint and also lead piping. Many homes don't have copper piping, they have lead piping, and that's getting into the water supply.
Are you seeing this in your clients that you're treating? Are you seeing lead? in your?
I'm seeing a lot more mercury in my clients, but my patients who come from back east, because those homes are much older, I actually see a lot of lead toxicity in those patients.
What about from dishes, from
You
old
know,
dishes?
I think you and I were talking about this. I had a patient and I kept chelating her. We were doing IV chelation on her, and the lead level was not coming down, and she had really high levels of lead. I'm like, what's going on? How are you getting exposed? We had checked the water supply, we checked the piping. And then one day she was getting an IV chelation and she's like, you know what? I've been using my grandmother's china. I'm like, you have to be kidding me. That's it. So we got these strips. You can get these lead testing strips from Ace Hardware, or you can just order it online. And sure enough, she tested the grandmother's china, which were like 100 years old, and
Yeah.
it was full of lead. And she was eating her food off of these lead painted like plates or china.
Yeah.
So
Any
that's something you
dishes?
really have to be careful. Glazed, like glazed dishes that come from China or Mexico are full of lead. Some Chanel lipsticks also have lead in them, believe it or not. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And
Lead
getting
piping.
right on your mouth.
That's right. That's right. That's why, the makeup that you use also has to be chemical and heavy metal free.
Yeah, I'm gonna have when this newsletter goes out on Tuesday, everybody, I'm gonna have these 10 different ways to protect yourself, and I'm gonna add some more. I never thought about lead being in lipstick. That seems criminal. I don't know. It seems like that should not happen. I actually have dishes that I just got from my dad that were my grandmother's that I was gonna use for Thanksgiving. And I tested them for lead. I got the kit from Amazon and they tested clean. And
Mhm.
now I'm thinking I need to retest because it seems, oh, let me grab the thing real quick. Hold on one second to show you the actual plate that I'm talking about. So these were the dishes that I got tested. I just got these from my dad. They're beautiful. They're Fuji China. They're made in occupied China. So think
Mm.
about how old these are, right? In occupied China. And they're glazed and they're decorative. This looks like it would contain lead. But I did a swab on it from a kit that I got from Amazon, and it came back as clean. I think I need to go to Ace Hardware and retest that before I eat off of them on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially when you put hot food, it can release some of that lead.
Yeah.
And you're ingesting it.
You're ingesting it. It's going
Mhm.
straight. Yeah, that's bad.
Mhm.
So number 7, check for radon gas leaks, even in newer homes. Many people don't know what that is. We hear about carbon monoxide detection, but radon has to do with that soil that's underneath, like the dirt and vegetation that's underneath your foundation can actually be harmful for your health. So even though it's organic, it's the fumes and that stuff from that rotting vegetation that's underneath your home. So there's a lot of different detectors that you can get for radon, but I wasn't even my brain wasn't even on that. I thought, oh, rotten vegetables underneath your house, fine, it's fine. No, they can actually ferment and cause a lot of different harms. Number 8, check plastic bottles and canned goods for BPA. Is
Mhm.
there a way to test to know if you've got a lot of this kind of BPA exposure?
A lot of the dishes that are sold now says BPA free, but I just try to avoid plastic.
Exactly. Me
You know
too.
what I mean? Because these plastics have a lot of xenoestrogen, and we're seeing a lot of women with estrogen dominance. We're seeing men becoming estrogen dominant as well because of all the exposure we're getting to plastic.
Wow. I mean, this kind of goes into what I was going to talk about next, which is when you choose a water bottle to make sure that you're choosing the recycling symbols of 1, 2, or 5 and avoid, so 1, 2, or 5, and avoid any water bottles marked 7, because
Yeah,
that is like it's plastic that it's going to leach.
right.
Um, I think one thing that people don't realize too is when you order takeout, anytime
Yeah.
that you order from Uber Eats or whatever takeout, that they're not sending those in glass containers. Those
No,
are either in plastic, a lot of times black colored plastic, which is the worst for leaching. Hot soups and things like that come in plastics. But in addition, even if it comes in a cardboard box, the only way to make paper impenetrable to water, to a liquid, is to line it with plastic.
that's right. That's
So
right.
paper cups at Starbucks, and Starbucks has made that switch. They're doing things that are a lot less toxic, but when you're still having a paper cup and you're trying to hold liquid in it, and paper and liquid don't mix, and so it's lined in a plastic.
So,
So
which brings us, once we are done with these points, we're going to talk about how to detoxify the body, because no matter how careful we are, we're all getting exposed to toxins and heavy metals and
yeah,
plastic on a
rest
daily basis, right?
100%. Even if you do all of these, there's
Exactly.
still going to be other things. And so I'm just going to go through these really quick. Of course, you guys know, don't microwave anything that's plastic. Limit your consumption of canned goods. Store things in glass containers. Open windows to circulate. Even if you live next to a freeway, our wait until the traffic is gone, but opening up our windows to get circulation of air. The air outside your home is usually better quality than the air inside, unless you're constantly using air purifiers. And then I'm just going to go over a few unexpected sources, and if anybody has anything else that you can think of, like, gosh, she didn't mention that, please put it in the comment section. So takeout containers, wrappers from fast food, that hamburger that you're eating in a paper wrapper is lined with plastic. It has to be, because otherwise the paper would turn soggy. So you'll see kind of that sheen on those on that In-N-Out wrapper. I've never had an In-N-Out burger in my life, but you see that paper on the In-N-Out burger that has plastic on it. So dishwasher and laundry pods we talked about. Hot paper receipts now from grocery stores or from somebody who's printing out a receipt. That to me, I think of that like the plague. I don't touch any receipts anymore.
And the ink on it, exactly.
Yeah, the ink on it, all of that. Takeout containers we talked about. Mercury levels in fish, which we're going to get to. Air fresheners, scented candles, all those things that we're spraying in the bathroom, or perfume right on your skin. All of these create a toxic load. And so now that we're at this place where we are inundated with all this toxic levels, now what do, Dr. Shiva? How do we detox from all of this stuff?
Yeah. So, our liver is the washing machine of the body. And in the liver, there are two phases of detoxification, phase one and phase two. So in phase one, that pathway, most of these toxins are actually fat soluble, and it's very hard for us to excrete it. So it's important to take antioxidants and glutathione and sulfur group supplements that will actually add a sulfur group to that fat soluble toxin, so it becomes water soluble in phase two of the detoxification pathway, so we can actually pee it out or poop it out.
So is phase one to change the fat soluble toxin to a water soluble toxin?
Right. In phase one, these toxins are in a fat soluble form. And through the detox pathways, when we add sulfur group or when we take glutathione, we add a sulfur group to that fat soluble toxin, so that in phase two, it has become water soluble and it can be peed out or pooped out.
Okay, before we get on to that, because I want to talk about glutathione, I have a special for everybody that is on this live. For a very limited time, these two products by my company, Live Young, are on sale, massive sale, 45% off. These are the two products that I use daily to help me detox. I want to tell you a little bit about them. The first one is called I-Detox. It's like supercharged micro broccoli sprouts. That's basically what is in
Mm-hmm.
this. It's all blister pack. But I want to tell you guys about this because the code for the supplements. So if you would go to liveyounglifestyle.com, or you can comment supplements in any post that I did, and then check your DMs. The little robot friend will help deliver that. It's 45% off for the duo. So I-Detox, this is like supercharged broccoli supplement. I want you to think about it like that. It contains a special kind of broccoli extract that's even more powerful than regular broccoli. It's an antioxidant. This extract helps to create a very strong antioxidant called sulforaphane. Sulforaphane. So sulforaphane is like the superhero of your cells. It helps the body clean up more efficiently, reduces inflammation throughout the body, protects DNA, and slows the growth of abnormal cells. The best part is that it's long-lasting protection and helps the body recycle other types of antioxidants. So this, along with the Antiox Next Level, and this contains L-ergothioneine, which is naturally produced powerful antioxidant. And so this helps with oxidative stress and all of that. It's important. This is why I wanted to bring this up, because it supports brain health, strengthens cell defenses, and helps maintain healthy levels of glutathione, amongst other important antioxidants. So these two together are what is on sale. I'm going to be doing some content about this on my story afterwards. I've never had this on sale like this as a duo for 45% off. So normally this set is $87 and you can get it for $49. Just because I have Dr. Shiva on here, and we were talking about detox, I wanted to tell you what I do personally for that. So let's get back then to tell me, how do we get the toxin to transfer from a fat soluble toxin to a water soluble? How do you do that?
So like we talked about, when we add these sulfur groups, by taking antioxidant, by taking glutathione, by doing IV glutathione, these toxins become water soluble and you can actually excrete them. If you're feeling foggy, you're feeling heavy, you're not feeling all like yourself, right? Your body is trying to detox and you don't have the ability to detox because you don't have all these antioxidants and the sulfur groups to be able to make the toxins into a water soluble toxins so that they would be excreted. You're suffering. And it's the suffering is like, it's so sad when I see it in my patients, and just giving them one IV glutathione turns them around. There's a physical exam that's really fun too. On the
Okay.
physical exam, I tell them to stick their tongue up. I'm going to show it to you.
Uh-huh.
And those veins underneath the tongue, if they're
Oh no.
extremely, yeah. See,
Uh,
yours are yours, it's hard to see because but if those veins are engorged, that means the liver is working extra hard to detoxify.
would that show up in a liver test? Would your liver enzymes be spiked?
No, the liver enzymes are always normal. That's why just doing a chemistry panel doesn't necessarily tell you that your liver is stressed out, but your body will tell you. You're just not feeling good, right? I
A
call
lot of
it the
people would
health, I
chalk this
call
up to
it the health
menopause.
spectrum. So here's health and vitality, which is actually the name of my clinic. Health and vitality. That's how you should feel. And
Uh-huh.
here is disease state. And right in the middle is this foggy state. I call it the gray zone syndrome, where you're stuck in this gray zone. You're not feeling good. You feel so crappy, right? And you go to the doctor, they do blood tests. They said, there's nothing wrong with you. The chemistry panel is normal. Your liver enzymes are normal. Your CBC is normal. You don't have anemia. And you say, I don't feel good. I
Yeah.
just don't feel good. I wake up, I'm not feeling good. I'm dragging myself. I have brain fog. I don't have energy. And the doctor is like, it's all in your head. Let's put you on an antidepressant. No. The answer is
Mm.
no. Now, you may be depressed and you may benefit from antidepressant, but you've got to do a physiologic workup. You've got to bring yourself out of that gray zone into health and vitality. And
Yeah.
how do we do that? The first R of functional medicine is to remove. It's to do detoxification. Let's clean up the body. Because once you remove these toxins and chemicals and pesticides, and I'm so glad you had this talk, that's why I wanted to join you, because all the 10 points that you gave to your audience were so valuable, because we're all getting exposed, whether we know it or not, we're all getting toxicity, and we won't really know how much it's affecting us until, like, God forbid, one day we're being told, oh, you have cancer or you have
Yeah.
Alzheimer. We don't want to
Mhm.
hit that point, right? We
Yeah.
want to detoxify before then, so that you can come from this gray zone into health and vitality. Because guess what, Darnell? If they don't bring themselves out of the gray zone to health and vitality, they're going to go towards disease. Maybe
Yeah.
not today, maybe not tomorrow, but in a year or 5 years or 10 years, it's going to turn into chronic disease. And
Yeah.
that's why I talk about this all the time. It's extremely important to detoxify.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I noticed early, I would say like 10 years ago with my mom, she started getting things like diverticulitis. She would have things wrong with her digestive system. Before things went wrong with her brain, things went wrong with her digestive system. And she had chronic diarrhea and chronic just symptoms that you think like, that doesn't seem right to me. And so she had a little place, a little second place near the beach with my stepdad. And in time they would go and spray the crops because her house literally sat in the middle of 20, still sits in the middle of 20 acres of grapevines. And they
Yeah.
use,
Pesticides.
glyphosate. They use
That's
all of
right.
that stuff. That same stuff that you guys are seeing that is turning up in all of the cereals and all of that stuff, glyphosate, it's on ewg.org. Look, go on that website and see the struggles that we've had to try to get glyphosate out of our food. But it started in her gut, and she would have multiple things going wrong with her gut, and then the brain thing started during COVID, where we noticed the her memory and the brain fog, and then now she's got Alzheimer's.
So let me give you a couple of pointers here, because as a functional medicine doctor, we believe that all disease states actually starts in the gut. We believe that because of all these toxins and chemicals, our gut lining becomes leaky. And when the gut lining becomes leaky, these cells, right, are like this instead of being tight like this. So
Yeah.
all these chemicals and toxins and antibodies and antigens can leak out of the gut and hit different organs. In,
Mm,
let's say, your mom's case, it's her brain,
yeah.
right? So by actually addressing leaky gut, getting rid of the diarrhea, getting rid of the bloating, getting rid of the gas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting rid of constipation, we are ensuring that our health is normal. And I have a wonderful leaky gut protocol in my practice where I put my patients on a 2 months protocol and the lining of the gut heals. And many of their food allergies and symptoms go away. Gas, bloating, digestive issues go away. Many of these patients have SIBO, which is small intestinal
Yeah.
bacterial overgrowth. We do a 3-hour breath test to find out if it's hydrogen producing, hydrogen sulfide producing, or methane producing bacteria. And then we'll treat that as well. Because if you have chronic SIBO, that can definitely contribute to leaky gut syndrome.
Yeah, I'm going to have you back on. We're going to do a whole show just on leaky gut because I can't tell you how many clients that I have that this is where it starts. They come to me and they're like, I'm bloated, I can't do this, I can't lose weight, and every time that I try to put them on vegetables, and it's like, no, this doesn't work for them, and it's all of a sudden it's like they eat a salad, and it seems like they've got the worst stomach ache of their life on a salad.
That's
So
most probably SIBO, small intestinal bacterial, which has become an epidemic.
people think it's normal. I hear people
Yeah,
talking on social media all the time of, well, not everybody can eat all vegetables or can eat an abundance of vegetables. Sometimes it causes so much discomfort. And my brain automatically went to why? Why
yeah.
is like, there's something else going on if every time you eat a salad, you feel like you've got a baby food,
Yeah.
a food
And guess
baby.
what? when I pull these heavy metals out of patients, when we do IV chelation, a lot of my patients' IBS goes away because gut motility improves when you pull toxins out of the system. These heavy metals slow down the gut motility.
So how do we, so heavy metals, I know we're getting those in fish, right? Where else are we getting, we didn't even talk about Teflon or any of that kind of stuff. That's all going to be in the newsletter, everybody. It comes out on Friday, and along with Dr. Shiva Lalezar's contact and all of that, we'll have the 10 plus things to avoid or ways to improve your toxic exposure. And then we'll also have all of your contact and how somebody can make an appointment with you. Tell me a little bit more about chelation. What exactly are we getting? What exactly are you chelating from? Are we talking about fillings, fish, the other lead sources? Can
Mhm.
you detox from plastics? Like, give it. How do you cure us? Help
Okay.
us.
Well, first, I want to give a little introduction that I've actually been doing this type of work for the past 20 years. So I've had a lot of experience in chelation therapy, and I'm certified in chelation therapy. Because not
Okay.
everybody can just, you can't just go to any clinic and say, hey, can you chelate me? You
Yeah.
have to make sure you go to someone who's trained. Because it's a heavy duty process
Yeah.
in terms of you have to make sure that you're safe while you're chelating. Chelation comes from the Greek word claw. Chelation claw. So it has, so these chelating agents like DMPS or sodium EDTA has a claw-like structure. They actually, like a magnet, go and bind to the heavy metal and it pulls it out of your cells. And then remember glutathione, which has the sulfur group? I give
Yeah.
that right after the IV chelation. I give IV glutathione, which will then make this complex water soluble, and then it gets kicked out in the urine.
So because
So
mine are still, I have a sulfur base in this, this will also help to to turn it into a water soluble.
correct,
Okay.
correct,
So
correct.
that's
And
how these products are not in office. So these are, that's how these products at home are helping with detoxification.
correct, correct. And then remind me later to explain this process of, what antioxidants are and what, why do we not want to be oxidized, right?
Right, 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 right.
Remind me to explain that. But going back to chelation, um, I actually like to test my patients and scientifically tell them whether they have these heavy metals or not. I don't want to do any guesswork. I also don't believe that the hair analysis or a blood test is accurate enough. Because you can go to your primary care doctor and say, hey, can you check me for arsenic, mercury, lead, and aluminum? And they may check you in the blood and say, well, there's nothing in your blood. That doesn't mean you're not carrying it at a cellular level. You could be having these heavy metals at a cellular level in the fat cells and in the brain cells, and it won't show up in the blood. So if the blood test is negative, it doesn't mean you don't have heavy metals. If your hair analysis is showing that you have some heavy metals, that just shows what you have excreted into the hair. It doesn't show what you're storing at a cellular level. So the proper way of testing for heavy metals is to actually go to a clinic that does chelation therapy, get the DMPS provocation followed by glutathione, and then go home and collect your urine for 6 hours. During those 6 hours, we're going to see exactly how much of mercury and tin comes out of you. That's for the DMPS part of the test. Then another day, patients come back and they do a sodium EDTA provocation, followed by glutathione, and then they go home and collect their urine for 6 hours, and then we'll see how much lead, aluminum, cadmium, nickel, gadolinium comes out of their body.
So what's the first phase again, where you do the first one and then you go home
And
and you collect the urine for, what does that show?
that one shows mercury and tin because each chelating agent has a different affinity because remember they're like magnets. So DMPS goes
Mm.
after mercury and tin. Sodium EDTA goes after lead, aluminum, cadmium, nickel, and gadolinium.
Okay.
Now, I have good news because even after that one first chelation, When my patients come back for a follow-up, they are already feeling better. They're like, they have more energy, their brain fog has lifted, their body ache has decreased. Why? Because that huge load of toxicity was taken off of them, even with one chelation. It's
Wow.
unbelievable. Like I have medical students rotate with me. I'm certain that I'm ruining medicine for them because they're going to go to their other rotations and they're going to be like, oh my God. Because every patient that comes back for follow-up in my clinic, they're already feeling better. So instead of like complaining and saying, I don't feel good, I don't feel, they're already saying, you know what? I'm feeling so much better. And those
Something works.
veins, those engorged veins under their tongue is less visible.
Okay, so now I'm like, I'm gonna literally go into your clinic and go like, okay, tell me about what's going on under my
Yeah, I
tongue.
can read a lot from just looking at the tongue.
Wow. And so after you chelate somebody, those veins
Those
underneath the tongue are less engorged.
they are less engorged because the liver doesn't have to work as hard. And the other thing that happens is that hormone imbalance goes down. A lot of these patients who are estrogen dominant, they feel like they're coming out of their skin. They're not feeling good. They have breast tenderness. They have PMS. Men are all over the place in terms of their mood. They feel a lot better because all this pressure has been taken off of their endocrine system.
Mhm.
Does that
Do
kind of make
you,
sense?
yeah. Do you get a lot of because the symptoms for having toxic overload are very similar to the symptoms of perimenopause. I mean, not with the night sweats and
Yeah.
hot flashes, but the brain fog and the weight gain and the just not feeling right and feeling sluggish and tired, all of that. Do you get a lot of people who come in thinking that it's perimenopause symptoms and it ends up being
Heavy
toxic
metal. Yeah,
heavy
of
metals?
course, of course. To do a very thorough functional medicine protocol, there are four arms in my protocol.
Tell
One
me.
arm is let's detox you. It's the remove part of the protocol. Number two, let's make sure we optimize your weight. So I may use the GLP-1, GIP, like something like Manjaro or tirzepatide to help them lose weight and improve insulin resistance. Number three, let's repair your gut. Let's make sure you don't have leaky gut and food
Yeah.
allergens and all that. So cleaning up the diet, cleaning up the gut, putting them on a leaky gut protocol. And then number four is let's optimize your hormones. So if you are going through perimenopause or menopause, let's not just wait for you to have full blown menopause. Let's go ahead and give you some progesterone or some estrogen, bioidentical, of course, some
Yeah.
testosterone and DHA to optimize your hormones to make you feel good so you don't have that full-blown symptoms of menopause. Um, if you're already menopausal, it's still so important to optimize these hormones because you don't want to fall and break your hip, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to develop Alzheimer or dementia. It's extremely important to optimize all these female hormones. And it's also extremely important for men to optimize their testosterone and DHEA level. Why do we age? We age because our hormones start declining. We can have a whole shebang, like whole
Oh, we
whole
totally
talk
can.
about whole talk about hormones.
I've often said, like, people have asked me, how long are you going to be on? I'm at 57 now. So I started my hormones when I was 49. And at this point, it's like, I'm going to the grave with them. Someone's going to have to pry them out of my cold, dead hands because I feel so much. I want to say better, but it's like myself. I feel like
Yeah.
myself on hormones. And so now it's concerning me with especially looking under my tongue. I'm like, well, could I feel so much better if I checked myself for heavy metals? And so I'm totally going to make an appointment and do that. How many sessions do you think? Well, I just want to recap one thing, and one thing that I want to make sure of. When you when you chelate them for the first time, you're able to see the toxicity level only by the urine analysis for the next 6 hours. So there's no sort of, besides physical symptoms of saying, I'm tired, I have brain fog, there's no testing to be done to see if you've got that toxic level without doing a chelation.
The best and the most accurate is a urine toxicity provocation test, which means you have to be provoked with a chelating agent to see how much comes out of you. Otherwise, these heavy metals are stuck and hidden in the brain and in the cells. And the test is going to make you feel better. It's really
Yeah.
going to make you feel better. Now, how do we get these heavy metals, right? That was your other question. High mercury fish like tuna, king mackerel, sea bass, cod, catfish, orange roughy. The bigger the fish is, the more mercury they're going to have in their, right,
And
in
it
their
doesn't
fat
matter if
cells.
it's sea or river.
It doesn't really matter because they're
Doesn't.
consuming other fish and they're carrying that mercury at a cellular level or in their fat cells.
So does everybody understand that? You take a little tiny fish that has a little tiny bit of mercury, and mercury is not processed; it just accumulates. So you've got a little fish that has a little bit of mercury eaten by another fish that's got mercury eaten by another fish eaten by another fish. By the time you get to like a swordfish or
Yeah,
something like that, or a salmon or something, you've got a lot of this mercury that's built up in that fish.
you got it. Exactly. So I always have my patients avoid high mercury fish. There's plenty of fish that's healthy, like whitefish, salmon.
Yeah.
Um,
Does
tilapia,
salmon have
tilapia is
high?
so-so, huh?
Does salmon have a high mercury count?
Not necessarily, no,
Okay.
no. Um, so there's a lot of like trout is pretty healthy. It's
Right.
yeah, it's a smaller fish. Um, Amalgam fillings, these silver fillings,
Yes.
they're illegal in some countries. Okay. Because every time you chew or drink hot fluid, you're getting some mercury off of those amalgam fillings, off
So
gas.
amalgam fillings, if you can see your fillings, if you've got
Right.
silver fillings in your mouth, those
Yeah.
are amalgam fillings. What do
Amalgam.
we do? I had all of mine removed a decade
Right.
ago, and they have to do a dam inside your mouth so that you're not swallowing your fillings or it's not getting in your bloodstream. But do you recommend taking all those fillings out and getting them
100%.
changed?
100. It's when my patients come to my office, first of all, they're at their end. Like, they're just so done being sick. They really want to do the work. So when they come to my office, I give them a handout. I tell them, go see a dentist, make sure the dentist is a biological dentist, put a rubber dam, oxygen mask, high suction vacuum, and replace the amalgams one quadrant at a time. Yes, get them replaced because you're getting exposed to mercury. And I have bad news for you, Darnell. You probably are going to be loaded with mercury because if you had amalgam fillings, if you
Yeah.
had amalgam fillings, despite the fact that you took them out in a safe manner, which I'm so happy you didn't swallow the mercury during the process of, pulling it out. But despite that fact, you're going to have mercury at a cellular level because you had those amalgam fillings for years.
Yeah.
My amalgam fillings were replaced when I was 18 years old. 15 years later, when I checked my mercury level, it was 57. I checked and you're not supposed to have mercury at a cellular level. So,
Mm.
because I was getting ready to get pregnant, I wanted to make sure I checked my levels before I got pregnant. I didn't want to transfer all this mercury into my babies. So I actually did IV chelation before I got pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a lot of OBGYNs and fertility specialists actually refer patients to me to detoxify them before they freeze their eggs or before they get pregnant.
I know somebody up in the comments here talked about like plastics in breast milk. Like there's just it's all over us, all through us. You talked about chelation for heavy metal. Is there anything that can get rid of all the plastics we're accumulating? I think there was something I saw on social media. So who knows if this is true, but something I saw on social media that says something like we take in as many plastics as a credit card worth every month, which seems like a lot to accumulate in your body. I don't know if that's true or not, but how do you get rid of plastics if they're in you?
Um, so it's really it's really hard. So glutathione is very good because it again opens up that phase two detoxification pathway. The other thing is infrared sauna is fantastic for smaller molecule toxins like pesticides and chemicals and plastic. So getting
Anything you
into
can
an
sweat out.
exactly, and you like get into an infrared sauna 2-3 times a week. Unfortunately, heavy metals can't come out
Yeah.
through the. They've done sweat studies. They're too large of a molecule. They don't come out in the, through sweating
Yeah.
with
And
saunas.
you don't
But
sweat fat anyways. And if they're in the fat molecule, they're in the fat cell, yeah, there's no amount of sweating that's gonna get rid of that. Have you noticed like toxic levels going up when people have lost a lot of weight, like on the weight loss shots?
I'm so proud of you. That is incredible. No, really, because nobody really talks about this. Because I've done chelation on my obese patients and I don't find as much heavy metals in them because it's so hidden in their fat cells,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And part of the reason they're holding on to the weight is because they're protecting themselves against toxicity. And then
Yeah.
as they start losing weight and I repeat the chelation, the test results will show the heavy metals because now there's not as much fat cells to hide the heavy metals in. Yeah,
Wow.
but I'm so proud of you because that's so intelligent for you to think of that.
Oh, that's that's so, but I mean it kind of makes sense, right? If it's held in the fat, then all of a sudden
Hmm.
you've got this free floating toxicity
Hmm.
from people losing weight. For craft's sake, we have one question. For craft's sake, said every time I eat, I feel nauseous. Can this be leaky gut?
Oh my God, remember we talked about that nausea case yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you about that case. I was a 27-year-old female patient was sent to me by a gastroenterologist. She had nausea for 10 years. She had seen many gastroenterologists and nobody could figure out why she has chronic nausea. Gastric motility test was normal, SIBO test was normal. The mom insisted, begged the gastroenterologist, please check the blood level of mercury because my daughter used to eat a lot of sushi. So he listened because he knew me. He kind of like knew a little bit more about mercury than a
Yeah.
typical gastroenterologist. So he did a blood test. And sure enough, the blood test showed a mercury level of 19.
What is
Immediately
the
he
typical?
referred.
What's the range? Because that number
You're
is
not supposed to have mercury
you're
in
not
your
supposed to have
system. You're, so he
zero.
so he referred this patient to me. I did a DMPS tox screen on her. Her mercury level was 75 in the urine. And after the first chelation, 20% improvement in the nausea after 10 years. We did 10 chelation on her. She's still working on it. And her nausea has improved by 80%. This is a miraculous story. This is a
Wow.
miraculous story. And I see it in my practice all the time. I've seen it with my patients with asthma, with dermatitis, with rheumatoid arthritis, lupus. And we're talking about severe disease complexes that you just pull these toxins out. That's what you should do first. Pull the toxins out, and
And
the
then
patient
see.
starts feeling better. Now,
Yeah.
coming back to your viewer who has nausea, yes, absolutely, nausea can be from leaky gut syndrome. So if you come to my office, I will do a leaky gut test on you, which is through a blood test, which measures the zonulin bond and the LPS. The other thing that I would do is I will order a 3-hour breath test to make sure you don't have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And then I would, of course, would want to test you for heavy metals as well, depending on your histories.
Yeah.
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 But
Yeah. There was.
it's very easy for me to treat. I've had patients with chronic diarrhea, chronic constipation, chronic nausea, chronic bloating. It's very, very easy for me to treat. Usually
Yeah.
it takes
And
2 to 3 months.
Angela was saying, can detoxing improve or delete asthma if you have it?
Yes. So if you guys go and check some of my testimonials, you will see all these diseases that we've actually resolved. There have been many asthmatic patients in my practice that I got them off of their inhalers,
Wow.
right? Same concept. Strengthen the gut. Make sure there is no immune dysregulation. right? Because if these antibodies and antigens are leaking out of the gut, they're causing immune dysregulation, and it can cause inflammation in the bronchioles or the cells of the lungs. It could be allergies to dust. Please, I want all your viewers to make sure that they're not getting exposed to mold in their homes. Because,
Yeah.
you know, especially with the heavy rains we had last year and all that water intrusion, you may have mold at home and not even know it. One of my asthmatic patients last week, actually, after questioning him, he's like, you know what? Yeah, I think I'm being exposed to mold, and that's why I have this hacking cough that's not going away. He's been on steroids, he's been on
Yeah.
antibiotics, he's been on all kinds of inhalers, and the cough is not going away. Well, guess what? He's sleeping in a room where he has mold. So I encouraged him to get one of these mold testing companies to come and measure the mold spores inside, and they compare it to the outside, and then they tell you exactly what kind of mold spore you're being exposed to. And then there are other, you know, techniques that I have at the office, like glutathione nebulizer. Actually, I have my asthmatic
Oh.
patients breathe in the glutathione because that heals the lining of the bronchioles, getting them on an allergy elimination diet, healing the lining of the gut, giving them high dose vitamin C, you know, IV also helps reduce the inflammation in the lungs. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things that we do in an alternative way that actually can get rid of the disease process.
Yeah, I mean, do you know if there's like at home mold tests that you can do, or do you just call somebody in to say, test my home
Uh,
for mold?
Call somebody.
Call
And
somebody,
usually,
right?
yeah. And unfortunately, it's pricey. Those tests are usually around $800, but it's worth it. It's
It's
worth it
worth it
because
because
if
you'll
you,
spend that in doctor's bills and
Mhm.
yeah, all of that stuff over the long run. Joby Bo said, unfortunately, I had an entire mouthful of silver fillings since age 8 to 10 until I removed all of them about 40 to 50 years old. Dentist didn't know and didn't have option to use the dam. So here I am. I'm 61 now. Go get chelate, right? Do
please
chelation.
call my office.
Joby Bo, call Dr. Shiva's office.
You
Yeah.
really will not regret going through chelation. Every patient of mine, they thank, they're, at first they're resentful. They're like, why are you doing this to me? And unfortunately, chelation is not covered by insurance because it's a compounded medication and it does not have an NDC, doesn't have a label to be processed through insurance companies. It's a compounded medication. It is a prescription, but it's compounded.
So what
So
does
it's
that
not,
cost? Because I know somebody's going to ask. So if it's not covered by insurance, what does chelation normally cost and how many sessions do you
yeah,
need?
I don't like this question.
I
I
know,
wish
but
it
I'm
was
going to have
free.
to answer it and I don't want to answer it.
I wish it was free. It was, I mean, it
Yeah.
depends on the levels of the patients. I'm very conscientious in terms of ordering the least number of chelations. There are some doctors out there that would order 30 to 60 chelations, which is crazy. In my practice, usually we start with 5 to 10 chelations. I don't know. It could be anywhere from 2,500 to $5,000. It really depends on whether I'm going to use low dose glutathione, high dose glutathione,
Mhm.
how much heavy metal am I going to find in this patient? How much improvement do they see? Sometimes I leave the patient alone. Let's say if they start with a mercury level of 30 and I bring it down to 9, even though 9 is not completely all finished,
Yeah.
I leave them alone if most of their symptoms have lifted. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So every protocol that I write is individualized. Every protocol. One of your viewers talked about breast implants.
I saw that.
Some,
I saw that
yeah,
there.
yeah. Not only gut issues. So she said she developed gut issues. Some of my breast implant syndrome patients developed autoimmunity
Yeah.
because yeah, I don't remember the name of the breast implant. I want to say allergen had mercury in it. So they developed mercury toxicity and all kinds of chemicals were released in their body. And so with these chemicals, you can develop hormone imbalance and immune dysregulation. So the immune system goes crazy.
So what would you say are like the main symptoms? I know you talked about brain fog, but just to try to help people differentiate, like between just feeling shitty or getting older or hormone imbalance versus having like some serious toxicity issues. What would steer somebody, besides being on this live show and hearing us talk about it, what would steer somebody to say like, oh, you know what, this is definitely heavy metal, I need to go elsewhere? Or is it are the symptoms so overlapping with so many other types of diseases?
The symptoms can overlap. The symptoms can overlap, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't rule out heavy metal toxicity. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Just
Yeah.
rule it out, put your mind at rest. No, I would say 90% of my patients have heavy metals, and that's because I'm checking them. If I didn't check them, I would be like, okay, it's just a hormonal imbalance,
Yeah.
right?
And I think
Um,
what people don't realize is that these heavy metals, like my mom, I think, then or pesticides or then turns into a disease where you're past the point that you can cure this at this point.
That's correct. That's right. But the main symptoms I would say would be brain fog, fatigue, muscle ache. It could be hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism. It could be gut issues. It could be skin issues like dermatitis and eczema. It could be as asthma, right? It could be anxiety, depression, irritability, ADHD symptoms, right? Can
See,
come
to me,
from
that
heavy
sounds
metal.
to me, because those are my menopause symptoms for me. Like eight,
Yeah.
I know my which now I have to look and see, is it maybe heavy metal
You're
toxicity?
gonna you're gonna have mercury. I will guarantee it.
Really?
You're gonna have
Okay.
mercury at a cellular because you had amalgam fillings.
Yeah.
Imagine how much mercury you deposited in your cells, and you're thin. You're
Mhm.
thin. So there is a chance that you feel the effect of these heavy metals a lot more than an obese patient is higher.
You know what's interesting that you say that? I feel like um, I'm very much in tune because I'm thin with different things that go on in my body.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm like right when I started having those symptoms of perimenopause, it took me 2 weeks to get into the doctor because I'm like, I feel like I'm dying. Like this is not, it's
Good
not
for
okay.
you. Good
Yeah.
for you. That's really fantastic. I think it's so important for us to be in touch with our body and to listen because our
Listen.
body is the best doctor. Our
Yeah.
body knows, right? If we are in tune and we listen to what our body is trying to tell us, the body is telling you something. The
Yeah.
body is screaming for help.
Yeah.
And if you don't address it and you just let it, like pushing the dust underneath the rug, guess what? It's going to turn into disease.
It's going to turn into disease. Somebody, Penn Sherry said fibromyalgia. Is that often caused from heavy metal toxicity?
Absolutely.
Fibromyalgia?
Absolutely. I had a 30-year-old in my practice. She had so much pain all over her body and was labeled as fibromyalgia, and she was loaded with heavy metals. And I think after 10 chelation, most of her pain went away. Again, all of these testimonials are on my website. They're
What's your
categorized.
website? Give us
They're
your website.
categorized nicely, actually, on my website. Like if you go under fibromyalgia, her testimonial is there, and they're also on Yelp.
Okay.
It's healthandvitalitycenter.com.
Healthandvitalitycenter.com. This has been absolutely fascinating. You guys, if you missed any of this or you joined late, don't worry. I'm not going to post this to my main feed, but we will be doing content. I'll be taking little clips of this and I'll be posting them as reels. And everything that we talked about today will be in the newsletter that comes out on Tuesday. And Dr. Shiva, I'm going to give you the rough draft of that newsletter. I want you to add stuff in because we
Sure.
talked about other things in terms of like the symptoms that I wasn't looking for. And so even the treatment of fibromyalgia. So we're going to get this newsletter together that gives you everything that you need to know about first how to prevent toxic overload, how to protect your home and your body. But then once you have it, what do you do? So we're going to go through all of that in that newsletter. And I will see everybody next Saturday. Thank you so much, Dr.
My
Lalezar,
pleasure. Thank you so
for
much for
being here.
having me.
It's the first of many because I still have lots more questions.
Well,
And
you're fantastic. You're just such a good
oh,
interviewer. I'm serious.
oh,
Thank you
that's
so much
very
for
sweet of
having
you
me.
guys to say. Of course. And you guys, just to remind everybody, these two products together are on sale for 45% off because we're talking about detoxification. The code word is detox. And that will get you these products in the bundle for 45% off. And I'll see everybody next Saturday where we start. It's November, the first Saturday of November, and that's where we start all of our big giveaways. I give away giant prizes every Saturday from now until January. So big things coming your way. I've got a red light therapy mask to give away. I've got a microcurrent device to give away. Tons of fun stuff. I'll see everybody next Saturday. Thank you so much, Dr. Lalezar.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
bye
See you
everyone.
soon. Bye.